1978 is my first trip to England. I went as I got out of college to tour England, tour Europe, and to take the first pilgrimage of the Beatles' homeland, London, Liverpool, and beyond. A friend of mine picked me up at the airport, Heathrow. I think it was called Heathrow. Yeah, it was Heathrow then. And as soon as we got in the car and we got on whatever road you take from Heathrow to go into central London, he turns on the radio and I hear this song. It was March of '78, and I think it was the number one song at the time, Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush, and I fell in love. I'm sure it was one of those records that people loved or hated at the time. But the next day, I went down to Oxford Street in London, and I went into, I can't remember if it was the Virgin Megastore or HMV right on Oxford Street. And I bought this 45. This is it, Wuthering Heights. Original 1978, 45 of Kate Bush. EMI Records. B-side is Kite. Never really caught on here in the States. And she had some, I don't think she didn't have any mild success. She had mild success when a number of years later, in fact, the only other 45 I have by her, I used to have some 12 inches and I don't. Running Up That Hill, as you know, became a pretty big hit all around. MTV played it here, but obviously in the UK, you know, she was always bigger in the UK. But Kate Bush, I love Kate Bush, one of my all-time faves. What can I say? I mean, a true original. And I'm just gonna go through some of the records I have. Pretty much every Kate Bush album. I don't have every pressing or every US and UK edition, but starting with the first album, again, these are my US copies, I believe. My US copy, which I got as a promo copy, The Kick Inside. And then I did buy some of the reissues because they sound really, really good. I don't always buy represses of artists that I have originals on, but for some reason, Kate Bush is one of them, and they're mastered. They're mastered really nicely by. Let's see who remastered them. I should know this. I should have prepared, but they're remastered by the same, actually American mastering engineer that did the recent Pink Floyd reissues, who did a great job. But you know, do I need remastered versions? This is the UK cover. This was the American cover. Which do you like? I love the UK cover better. Pretty much the same on the back sides. So there you go. And then, I hope these are in the right order, maybe not. Lionheart was another album of hers. God, I didn't know much to say about her, but I remember my girlfriend, and I remember a couple, like in the late, I guess in the 80s, it wasn't until the 80s, there was that video of her, a VHS copy of all her videos, and I put it on. My girlfriend just started laughing throughout it, her awkward dancing, Kate Bush's awkward dancing. She was a dancer early on as well, but I mean, an amazing artist, right? There you go, there's more. And then I kind of disappeared. She kind of disappeared from me for a little while, and I didn't really take notice. And all of a sudden, it was during the CD period that I got The Dreaming. And this, for me, changed everything with Kate Bush. This, to me, she became full-blown artist. I know, obviously, Wuthering Heights and her other things as well, but this to me, is a perfect album. She did 2 perfect albums in a row. This was one of them. Here's the reissue of it, but I love this cover. And you can see by this cover the ring in her mouth. And it's kind of based on the song I heard called Houdini, with this kiss. I'm not going to quote the lyrics here, but I should have, let's see. Through the glass I watch you breathe, bound and drowned in poker face. With a kiss, I pass the key, I feel your tongue teasing and receiving. With your spit still on my lip, you hit the water. You know, when the chained up Harry Houdini drops through the water. The things she writes about are so fucking amazing. Beautiful artist, beautiful woman, just so creative and so powerful with her creations. But I recommend, you know, if you only want 2 records, these are the 2, artistry-wise. I mean, anybody's into Pink Floyd, I mean, you might know this, most of you who are into her, that it was pretty much David Gilmour from Pink Floyd who kind of introduced her to EMI and got her signed, and actually plays on her first record and also sings on a track on this record as well. I think over the years he's kind of, you know, been in tight with her. In the late 80s also, you probably know the Peter Gabriel song Don't Give Up, that great duet with Kate Bush. But Hounds of Love is definitely her masterpiece. The suite on side 2, the 9th Wave, pretty amazing piece. Hounds of Love, Running Up That Hill. I mean, this had a lot of hits too, mostly in England, but also American hits. It got a lot of MTV play. Big Sky, Cloud Busting, and Running Up That Hill, A Deal with God. Great song. If you want a sampler, the whole story is basically her best of. Got Wuthering Heights, Cloud Bursting, The Man with the Child in His Eyes. Beautiful record. From the video from Cloud Busting, Donald Sutherland, the actor, was in that video, if you recall. So, again, another wonderful one. Then she switches, at least in this country, she switches to Columbia Records. This is a reissue. Never had these on vinyl until the last, like, 5-6 years. Sensual World, I think it's another pretty album too. I mean, some people thought it was not a great follow-up to Hounds of Love, but again, a stunningly beautiful record. Red Shoes. I mean, her records and her videos, and she's very cinematic. I mean, really influenced by Michael Powell films, British cinema. If you've seen her videos, she does a lot of takeoffs. Rubber Band Girl is on this. Pretty cool song. The Red Shoes. Then an album that to me is a mini masterpiece, or a maxi masterpiece, not on the same scale as The Dreaming or Hounds of Love, but Ariel. Another beautiful record. I say beautiful. I mean, Kate Bush, beautiful woman, beautiful artist, amazing singer, amazing composer, amazing producer. She built her own studio eventually, I think before The Dreaming, so she could just take the time to work on her records without worrying about budgets and, you know, the usual trappings of working at Abbey Road or any other, you know, private recording studio. But another great record. Then we go into Director's Cut, which an interesting document. It's not totally successful, I think, but she basically re-recorded or remastered, did some new vocals, did some new overdubs on a number of songs, including This Woman's Work, which is actually a beautiful song that was used on the soundtrack She's Having a Baby, the John Hughes film. and that was on the soundtrack only. And this is a slightly different version of it. And you know, songs from Sensual World and the Red Shoes that she redid. This is one of those artists. It's almost like when a director recuts a film and puts it out years later. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it doesn't. It's very subjective, but if an artist wants to do it, so be it. Nice thing is it doesn't replace the original, so whether it's Spielberg adding, you know, What's Inside to Close Encounters, or Francis Coppola doing the Redux version of Apocalypse Now. Sometimes a director feels the need to go back and revisit a film, or George Lucas changing all the visual effects once digital got better. You know, you can like one, you like another. You can go on YouTube and find people arguing about this stuff on and on and on and on. But wouldn't be my first choice of record. I play it occasionally, but interesting that an artist revisits her early work. And there you go. But she's really very much into, you know, the whole graphics in her albums. I mean, this has a book where things are sort of photo illustrated. This whole series of each song. So she works with photographers, illustrators, graphic artists, and you know, this is again, we're, you know, being in the vinyl community where vinyl just makes it with this stuff. You know, a little 5.5-inch CD picture book just doesn't cut it, at least for me. You know, even though, of course, it's ironic that I'm sitting in front of a whole wall of CDs right now behind me. But I mean, there you go. You know, Kate Bush. This has become sort of an iconic figure for Kate. She uses this for her record company, Fish People. And if you noticed, if you bought any of the reissues that came out over the last year or so, the new labels are Fish People. So no more Parlophone, EMI, Columbia. It's all Fish People now. You know, I'm not sure if she got that. If any of you Kate Bush freaks down there know, add it below. Where did Fish People come from? Don't know. Another really gorgeous record. It's kind of, you could say this is Kate Bush's Christmas record. It's not specifically Christmas, but it's 50 Words for Snow. There's a duet with Elton John over the last, 5 years this came out, 6 years ago? Maybe this came out. His voice deepened. Oh, and this actually came with a CD, which I already have on CD. I think I do. But again, she's doing the book thing in here. Fish People and Snow. Fish People. Okay. Again, wonderful graphics. I mean, again, you know VC people. Isn't it wonderful to have these books and artwork? And you know me, if you've been watching my videos, I'm really into the artwork, whether it's photography, illustration, graphic design. You know, I'm a sucker for box sets and special editions and art books, things like that. Which brings me to the last two things. She came out of semi-live retirement. I mean, she hasn't toured. I think she only did 1 or 2 ever official tours. She's never toured the States. She's primarily a studio musician, but she did, I think it was like a month-long or 6-week residency in London in 2014, I believe, something like that. And everyone who saw it said it was like amazing, like a theatrical, like going to the theater. And she basically did some of her hits, but she did basically side 2, The Ninth Wave from The Hounds of Love. And her son has a part in it, some other actors and singers, and amazing stage design. But this is the soundtrack to it. I think this might work better if it ever came out on a Blu-ray or DVD. It hasn't. And who knows if she ever will release it. Apparently they filmed it high definition. So potentially it's there on the table if she ever decides. But she has so much control of her artwork and her releases now, that she's not a slave to the labels anymore. But this is a 4-record set of the entire theater presentation and music presentation. Again, beautiful packaging and a beautiful book, Before the Dawn. And again, wonderful illustrations and artwork. Not going to show every page, but I'll give you a little idea. There's what the theater presentation looked like. I think this would have been all. It's basically like going to the opera. If you've ever been to the opera, you need to go to the opera. You need to go to one opera. Obviously, a lot of them are 3-4 hours. So, but you need to let yourself go and enjoy the presentation, because going to live opera, I've been several times at San Francisco Opera, but go to a major city that has a major opera and just let yourself go. Even if you don't know what they're talking about, but the costumes, the sets, the lighting, the theatrics, maybe, find one, a Puccini opera, Wagner, something that you can relate to maybe. The Italian operas are fairly relatable. And even if you don't understand what the fuck they're saying, I'm not talking Jesus Christ Superstar here or something. I'm talking about the real deal. Not to take away from rock opera, but there you go, And then finally, I didn't get all the box sets. Last year, a series of box sets came out. You could buy all her LPs individually, but the only one I got was Volume 4, remastered in vinyl. And it's basically all the extra songs and 12-inch singles, remix singles. Isn't that a beautiful photograph of her? You don't need to see my face there. And of course, Fish People again. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So this is kind of like you would call a bits and pieces collection. It has all the Running Up the Hill, the 2012 remix, Deal with God, Experiment 4, which was a 12-inch single. She had a lot of 12-inch singles in the 80s when everyone was putting out 12-inch singles. Christmas singles, Wuthering Heights remix. I'm not going to, Running Up That Hill and Big Sky remixes. The meteorological mix of Big Sky is amazing. It's a really powerful drumming, percussive version. Same with the organon mix of Cloud Bursting. It's on this collection. Really, really good. So I would say if you want something and you want the remixes and the really, really heavy drums, I think, are these 45 RPM or 33? I can't remember. The originals, and unfortunately when I did a purge in the 90s, I got rid of a lot of my 12-inches. I used to have all the UK 12 inches of Kate Bush's remix, but unfortunately I don't have any more. This one has a lot of extra singles she did on collections. For instance, she has a version of Elton John's Rocket Man that was on a CD compilation that came out in the 80s or early 90s called Two Rooms. That was all these different artists like Eric Clapton and a number of others doing Elton John songs. And she did Rocket Man. There's a version of her from October 2005 doing Sexual Healing, the Marvin Gaye song. And, Brazil, Candle in the Wind, the Elton song. And so there you go, Kate Bush. That's my Kate Bush. I just love looking at her face here. So Mazzy's look at my Kate Bush vinyl collection. I love it. Love it, love it. Mazzy out, Mazzy loves you. Take care, everyone.